So, welcome to Exodus 19, a nation married to Yah, with your host, Richard Massey. I pray that you guys are having a blessed Sabbath. And I pray also that whatever you and your family are going through, that Yah gives you the strength to go through. Today, I want to talk about Luke 1. And I want to go over the different conversations in Luke 1 that I point out, of course, what I've been trying to say for the past couple months, that we are supposed to honor honor the covenant commandment for Yah to do what it is that we need him to do. So let's get started because this is a long chapter. So Luke 1:1. Since many have indeed taken in hand to set in order an account of the matters completely confirmed among us, as those who from the beginning were eyewitnesses and servants of the word delivered them to us. Remember, we talked about in Hebrews 12:1, in Hebrews 13, I forget what other one, when we're talking about the witnesses that I always thought that they were watching us to make sure, pulling for us, making sure that we were making it through. Then come to find out that they're not watching us, but we're watching them. We're looking at how they handle certain situations that to where Yah showed favor, or how they messed up in certain situations to where Yah placed judgment. So it says, as those who from the beginning were witnesses and servants of the word delivered them to us. They delivered it, and they're showing us to us through the word. It seemed good to me as well, having followed all these matters exactly from the beginning. From the beginning. So two times it's talking about from the beginning. In the New Testament, it's talking about from the beginning. What was the beginning? We always argue. Genesis 12, where Yah made the promise to Abraham. Genesis 12. It seemed good to me as well, having followed up all these matters exactly from the beginning, to write to you an orderly account, most excellent Theophilus, that you might know the certainty of the words which you were taught from the beginning, the words that you're taught from the beginning. Nothing new because you're in the new covenant, but the words from the beginning, the covenant commandment. 5. There was in the days of Herodes, the servant of Yehuda, a certain priest named Zachariah of the division of Abijah, and his wife was the daughter of Aaron, and her name was Elizabeth. So understand this. There was in the days of Herodes, the servant, the sovereign of Yehuda, a certain priest named Zachariah. A certain priest named Zachariah of the division of Abiah, and his wife was the daughters of Aaron, and her name was Elizabeth. So she's under the line of Aaron. What is Aaron? Levite, right? So she's a daughter of Aaron, right? 6. And they were both righteous before Elohim, blamelessly walking in all the commands and righteousness of Yahweh. They were blamelessly walking in all the commands blamelessly walking in all the commands and the righteousness of Yahweh, right? So they were walking in the commands and the righteousness of him. Genesis 12. Luke 1 is talking about again still Genesis 12, the commands to Aaron. Abraham, right? 7, it says, and they had no child because Elizabeth was barren, and both were advanced in years. Typical story, older in age, to where it seems impossible to do anything at that age. Yah makes a way, right? But because they are blamelessly walking in all the commands and the righteousness of Yahweh, he does this thing again. 8, and it came to be that while he was serving as priest, doing his priestly duties before Elohim in the order of his division, according to the institute of the priesthood, he was chosen by Lot to burn incense when he went into the dwelling place of Yahweh, right? So his job was to light the incense when needed. That was his job, right? So he's doing this job that is given to him, right? He's following the old law back in Exodus 34, when everything is established, and in Numbers 3, when you're getting, or 8, when they're given the duties of what each group of Levites do. 10, and the entire crowd of people was praying outside at the door of incense. So this is like still the old commandment, Old Testament stuff is happening in the New Testament here. 11, and a messenger of Yahweh appeared to him standing on the right side of the altar of incense. And when Zechariah saw him, he was troubled, and fear fell upon him. 13, but the messenger said to him, do not be afraid, Zechariah, for your prayer is heard, and your wife Elizabeth shall bear you a son, and you shall call his name Yohanan, right? This is John, right? John. And you shall have joy and gladness, and many shall rejoice at his birth. 15, for he shall be great before Yahweh, and shall drink no wine and strong drink at all. He's a Nazarite. He's going to be like Samson, a Nazarene. And he shall be filled with the set apart spirit, even from his mother's womb. These are commandments that the messenger is given to Zechariah, right? He can't veer off from anything that he's being told, right? 16, and he shall turn many of the children of Israel to Yahweh the Elohim. Now let's talk about that for a second. John the Baptist's job is to turn many of the children of Israel back to the Father. Who does that remind you of? John the Baptist is going to return many of the children of Israel back to the Father. He's going to teach them, to show them the way back to the Father. In the Old Testament, it was Elijah. He had the spirit of Elijah. Elijah's job was to turn the hearts of their fathers back to the hearts of the children back to the Father. Yeshua comes on the scene. He is to turn the hearts of the children back to the Father. What does that mean? Now we become Zedeki's of righteousness. This is what I'm doing right here today. I'm trying to turn the hearts of the children back to the Father. I'm trying to point out to you that the covenant commandments is necessary to turn you around to the Father. That's why the Father's name is always mentioned so much. Because your job is to turn the hearts of the children back to the Father. And he shall turn many of the children of Israel to Yahweh, their Elohim. 17, and he shall go before him in the spirit and the power of Eliyahu, right? To turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the disobedient to the insight of the righteous, to make ready a people prepared for Yahweh. We're trying to make you prepared for Yahweh, right? How? By showing you that how we were doing it at one point might not have been right. What you call him, dietary law, honoring him with all your heart, mind, and soul, loving your neighbor as yourself, honoring the Sabbath, honoring the feast. These are the ways that we turn you back to him, to honor him. And Zechariah said to the messenger, "By what shall I know this? For I am old and my wife advances years." Stop right there. That seems like Zechariah is asking that messenger a simple question. He's not, it doesn't seem like he's being rude at all. What does this remind you of? What does this remind you of? Remember in Genesis 12, when Elohim was telling Abraham all the promises that he was going to do. What happened in Genesis 15? Abraham says, "How do I know?" Yah said, "Since you said that, split apart and fray these animals, and I'm gonna walk through and we're gonna make a blood covenant." That was the messed up part. Because now if you messed up, this is conditional. When he gave Abraham the promise in Genesis 12, it was not conditional. He just promised Abraham that he was going to do this for him because he loved him and he considered him a friend. But since you want to ask me a question when I told you what I was going to do, kind of seeming like you're challenging me a little bit, even though it doesn't read this way in the Bible. Now we're going to put conditions on it. Same thing. Zechariah simply says to the messenger, "By what should I know this? For I am old." He's saying, like, I don't see how this is going to happen. I'm old. And the angels, and he said, "And my wife is also advanced in years. How are you going to do this thing that you're saying to me? How is this going to happen?" 19. Tell me if it seems like the messenger punishes him somehow. And the messenger answer said to him, "I am Gabriel, who stands in the presence of Elohim." That's another subject too. That's another subject too. 19, he said, and that messenger answered and said to him, "I am Gabriel, who stands in the presence of Elohim, and was sent to speak to you and announce to you this good news. I was here to tell you about Yohani Mercer or John the Baptist, to tell you the blessings that he's going to do to turn up the children of Israel back to the Father. I was here to tell you that." 20 says, "But see, you shall be silent and unable to speak until the day this takes place, because you did not believe my words, which shall be filled in their appointed time." And Zechariah could say, I just asked you one question. Don't ask no questions. Honor the Sabbath. You don't have to honor the Sabbath. You don't think that's penalized in our countries, in our families? You don't think that honoring the feast for how many? I'm 60 years old, 61 years old. If I haven't honored the feast for 57 years, that's offensive to y'all, even though I didn't know it. Now I do. Trying to make it right. So when Yah simply says, and we say that in the church, God said it, that settles it. Honor the Sabbath, and we don't. That's not cause and effect on the way things are happening in this world. Zechariah simply asked the question, how can this happen at my age? How can this happen at my wife's age? Since you said that, not believing in what I said, you're going to be quiet. 21, and the people waited for Zechariah and marveled at his delay in the dwelling place. He was in the temple. And when he came out, he was unable to speak to them, and they recognized that he had seen a vision in the dwelling place, for he was beckoning to them and remaining dumb. And it came to be, 3, and it came to be as soon as the days of his service were completed, he went away to his house. 24, and after those days, his wife Elizabeth conceived, and she hid herself 5 months, saying, 25, Yahweh has done this for me in the days when he looked upon me to take away my reproach among men. 26. And in the 6 months of the messenger Gabriel was sent by, and in the 6th month, the messenger Gabriel was sent by Elohim to the city of Galilee named Nazareth, to a maiden engaged to a man whose name was Joseph of the house of David. And the maiden's name was Maryam. And the messenger coming to her, now he's going to Mary now. First he went to Zechariah. Now he's talking to Mary or Mayhem, right? So you see in Matthew's, he talked to Miriam, and the book of Matthew's doesn't talk about him or showing him talking to Zechariah before. But Luke shows us that he talked to Zechariah, and now he's talking to Miriam, right? 28, and the messenger coming to her said, "Greetings, favored one. The master is with you. Blessed are you among women." But she was greatly disturbed at his words and wondered what kind of greeting this was. And the messenger said to her, "Do not be afraid, Maryam, for you have found favor with Elohim." You see how Elohim's name is being used a lot? His name is being used a lot more in Luke 1 than Yahshua HaMashiach's name. Because everything points back to the Father, right? And see, you shall conceive in your womb and shall give birth to a son and call his name Yahweh, right? 32, he shall be great and shall be called the Son of the Most High. And Yahweh Elohim shall give him the throne of his father David. And he shall reign over the house of Jacob forever, and there shall be no end to his reign. Let's stop right there for a second. So now this angel is building up Yahshua that's going to come. He said, "And see, you shall conceive in your womb and shall give birth to a son and call his name Yahweh," right? Yahweh. "He shall be great and shall be called the Son of the Most High, and Yahweh Elohim, his father, gives him the authority to sit on the throne of David." 33, and he shall reign over the house of Jacob forever, and there shall be no end to his reign. Better covenant. Because most priests since Aaron, since Moshe, were elected in, right? They were born into that position. They got older. They died. The replacement came, and on and on and on. Yahshua is going to come, and he's going to reign forever. Better covenant. That's what he meant when he said a better covenant, a new covenant. Not since I died on the cross, now you can do whatever you want to do, and then I'm going to be an advocate for you. That's not how it works. He's an advocate because your attempt to do well fell, and he's an advocate for you. In Christianity, that's why we do whatever we want to do, because we just know we have grace. We say that all the time, that we live by grace. And that makes us not take him serious to me. That makes us do what we want to do and downplay it because we know we can turn around and ask for forgiveness. So sometimes we do stuff on purpose. But when you think about what Yahshua HaMashiach went through from the time they picked him up at the Garden of Gethsemane to the time he was on the cross at Golgotha, the way they beat him and treated him, for us to do the things that we do just so we can turn around and repent when we know that we did it on purpose is disrespectful. So the better covenant comes because he will never die. He will never have to leave that position like a man would, because a man is frail. He will get older and die. Better covenant, just like he promised. And Miriam said to the messenger, how shall this be, since I do not know a man? That's another question, but the Bible don't seem to take, get mad, I guess, or disappointed at Miriam for saying that. 35. And the messenger answered and said to her, the set apart spirit shall come upon you, and the power of the Most High shall overshadow you. And for that reason, the set apart one born of you shall be called Son of Elohim. Which we already knew that. That's not shocking. 36. And see, Elizabeth, your relative, she has also conceived a son in her old age, and this is now the 6th month to her, who was called barren. So John the Baptist is 6 months older than Yeshua. He's coming before Yeshua gets here, 6 months before. 37. Because with Elohim no matter shall be impossible. That's the answer to your question, Mary. 38. And Miriam said, see the female servant of Yahweh, let it be to me according to your word. And the messenger went away from her. Miriam said, okay, I trust you. What you're telling me right now, I trust you. I believe. I have faith. What's the scripture say? Faith is the substance of things hoped for. It's the evidence of things not seen right here. Mary don't see what's going to happen in the future, but because she heard it, that's right. She said, let it be done the way you said. Let it be your will. 40. And enter into the house of Zechariah and greeted Elizabeth. No, I'm sorry, 39. And Miriam arose in those days and went into the hill country with haste to a city of Yehuda, and entered into the house of Zechariah and greeted Elizabeth. So Mary goes over to say what's going on with Elizabeth. They're going to go over and talk about what the messenger said to them. And 41. And it came to be when Elizabeth heard the greeting of Miriam that the baby leaped in her womb, and Elizabeth was filled with the set apart spirit, and called out with a loud voice and said, blessed are you among women, and blessed is the fruit of your womb. And who am I that the mother of my master should come to me? 44. For look, when the sound of your greeting came to my ears, the baby in my womb leaped for joy. 45. Blessed is she who believed. What did they believe? What the messenger said. What did Abraham believe? What the messenger said. When did he say that? Genesis 12. Blessed is she who believed, for that which Yahweh has said to her shall be accomplished. And Miriam said, my being makes Yahweh great, and my spirit has rejoiced in Elohim, my Savior. Why not Yahshua yet? He's not here, right? But see how they're talking about Elohim a lot? Elohim reminds me of covenant commandment, the promise to Abraham to do, and then we call Abraham our father. But then when the New Testament comes, we say that all that's done away with. This is confusing to me in the church. If Luke 1, which is the 3rd book in the New Testament, which is talking about the same story, keeps talking about Elohim. Okay. And my spirit has rejoiced in Elohim, my Savior. 48. Because he looked on the humiliation of his female servant. For look, from now on, all generations shall call me blessed. 49. For he who is mighty has done wonders for me, and set apart is his name. 50. And his compassion is from generation to generation to those who fear him. You're not taking Elohim for granted. How do you take him for granted? By not following the covenant commandments. 51. He did mightily with his arm. He scattered the proud in the thought of their hearts. He brought down rulers from their thrones and exalted the lowly. 53. He has filled the hungry with good items, and the rich he has sent away empty. He sustained Israel, his servant, in remembrance of his compassion. 55. As he spoke to our fathers. Who did he speak to? 55. Who did he speak to? As he spoke to our fathers, to Abraham, and to his seed forever. Genesis 12. And Miriam stayed with her about 3 months and returned to her home. And the time was filled for Elizabeth to give birth, and she bore a son. And her neighbors and relatives heard how Yahweh has shown great compassion to her, and they rejoiced with her. 59. And it came to be on the 8th day. This is the circumcision. This is the law. The 8th day, the baby is to be circumcised. They came to circumcise the child, and they were calling him by the name of his father, Zechariah. 60. And his mother answered and said, not so, but he shall be called Johanan. And they said to her, there's no one among your relatives who was called by that name. Like, where do you get that name from? Now, let's use this as an example. The messenger comes down and tells Elizabeth that when you have this baby, because the messenger was in the presence of Elohim, when Elohim told the messenger to go tell Elizabeth that this is the name of the baby. This is going to be the name of the baby. So Elohim tells the messenger, right? So what if the messenger went? That's a command. That's a personal command. That's not something that everybody has to do. That's between Elohim and the messenger. So what if the messenger got down to Elizabeth and said, hey, listen, Elohim said to call his name Johanan, but we're going to call him Jimmy Bob. Did they break a commandment? And if they broke a commandment, how would Elohim feel about that? Because he said it. Because with the angel, which is what Satan does, everything Elohim says, Satan changes it. And what's going to happen to him? So let's stick back with the messenger. What if the messenger would have changed his name when he's telling Elizabeth what to name the baby? What if he said, we're going to call him Billy Bob? How would Elohim feel about that? Right? And let's do it another way. What if the angel or the messenger did go to Elizabeth and said his name is going to be Johanan, and she said, no, his name is going to be Zechariah? Because what the messenger or what Elizabeth would have been showing, if they would have did that, was that I don't like the name you're giving me, Elohim, for this child. And between the messenger or Elizabeth, they could say, no, I have a name that's better than yours. You're great, you're almighty, you're the creator of the universe, you're everything, but on this one, you failed. So even though you suggested this, I'm going to do that. What does 1 Samuel say? Obedience is better than sacrifice, and to hearken, to listen to what I'm saying to you, than the fat of rams. What does that mean? I don't care how much you praise. I don't care how much you shout, how much you step in line with your whole shouting routine that you do. You're hard-headed, and you don't follow my word. He said, you call me Lord, but you don't do nothing that I say. Nothing that I say to you do you do. But you put on your Sunday best, you put on your cologne, you smell good, you're getting your nice shine card that you shined on Saturday on the Sabbath. You got your little bank account, your house is looking good, you're looking blessed and holy, but you're disobedient. But you're giving me this praise and you're giving me the fat of rams, and all I wanted you to do was be obedient and listen. But on the flip side, you're not obedient and you don't listen, but you're giving me worship. For anybody that has an ear to hear is who I'm talking to. For anybody that has an ear to hear is who I am talking to. Because this is ridiculous. Let's go back to 63. And having asked for a written, okay, so let's go back to 61. And they said to her, there is no one among your relatives who is called by this name. 62. Then they mentioned to his father what he would like to be called, like him to be called. This is them talking to Zechariah because like they're like Elizabeth is saying Johanna. And then 63. And having asked for a writing tablet, he wrote saying Johanna is his name. So he wrote down what Elizabeth had said to them verbally. And they all marveled. They was all surprised. Like, wow, that actually matched up. 64. And at once his mouth was open and his tongue loosed, and he was speaking and praising Elohim. And fear came on all those dwelling around him, and all these matters were spoken of in all the hill country of Yehuda. 66. And all who heard them kept them in their hearts, saying, what then shall this child be? And the hand of Yahweh was with him. And Zechariah his father was filled with the set apart spirit and prophesied, saying, blessed be Yahweh Elohim of Israel, for he did look upon and worked redemption for his people. He's figuring out a way for us. This is a plan to set us free, to turn the hearts of the fathers back, the hearts of the children back to the Father. 69. And has raised up a horn of deliverance for us in the house of his servant David. He's making a way for us. 70. As he spoke by the mouth of his set apart prophets from old. The prophets from old, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and so on. As he spoke by the mouth of his set apart prophets from old. He's not saying anything that's, well, the New Testament's just being started. So he can only say something from the people of the old time before him. 71. Deliverance from our enemies and from the hand of all those hating us. 72. To show compassion towards our fathers and to remember his set apart covenant. Genesis 12. Luke 1 talks about Genesis 12 so far more than any other chapter that I've read. 73. An oath which he swore to our father. When did he do that? An oath which he swore to our father Abraham. When did he do that? Genesis 12. To give to us, being delivered from the hand of our enemies, to serve him without fear. 75. In set apartness and righteousness before him all the days of our life. 76. And you, child, shall be called prophet of the Most High, for you shall go before the face of Yahweh to prepare his ways, to turn the hearts of the children back to this father, Yah Elohim, to give knowledge, to teach, to judge. People say, you know, you're not supposed to be judging us if you're in the church. That's exactly what we're supposed to be doing. But that's not, why do you look at it as we're judging you and not as we're trying to teach you something? If you were watching a young child put a bicycle together, but he was turning the bolt the wrong way, you would say, no, you got to turn it clockwise to tighten it. And the child turned around and said, why are you judging me? Let me do the bike the way I want to do it. How far is he going to get? You put your hands up, okay, I don't want to judge, or I don't want to teach, or I don't want to show you nothing. I'm going to let you do it your way. '77, to give knowledge of deliverance to his people by the forgiveness of their sins. To give knowledge of deliverance to his people, to judge, to teach. This is how you turn the hearts of the children back to the Father, by the forgiveness of their sins. 78, through the tender compassion of our Elohim, with which the daybreak from the high has looked upon us. 79, to give light to those who sit in darkness and the shadow of death, to guide our feet into a way of peace. I have to show you, listen, don't go that way. That way is going to lead you to a cliff. Don't go that way, or a ditch. Don't go that way. Let's go this way. Stop telling me what to do. Let you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to be judging me. You're supposed to watch me fall. But I know that this way is the wrong way. No, no, no. Don't do that. Let me go my way. Let me do my thing. This is my life. This is my body. I I want to do it the way I want to do it. 80. And the child grew and became strong in spirit. It was in the desert until the day of showing himself openly to Israel. And that's talking about Johann the Immerser or John the Baptist. Uh, and that's what he did. And this is the end of this one, Luke 1. Uh, I thought this was a good chapter. I thought that this spoke volumes to me when I was reading it the other day. I said, you know what, I'm going to speak on this one. So this is the end of it. And this is just a reminder that this podcast is also on Spotify and Instagram. And I'm live on YouTube as well. So don't forget to like my page and to share my page where it applies. And don't forget to hit the notification button. And don't forget to subscribe as well. And I hope you guys have a good and great and awesome day, Shabbat. So shalom. I don't know how to push that off. And stream.